Welcome back. You're watching Straight Talk. I'm your host, Big Randy Kearse. We talking to my man Corey Parks, the author of Crime and Punishment. Corey's story is phenomenal. He's made a transition, miraculous transition, former gangbanger, grew up in a dysfunctional home, but against all the odds, he was still, even after doing 15 years in prison, he was still able to make that transition from bad to good, and he's out there showing people what their potential is. He's out there working with young people, at-risk youth, showing them that they don't want to make the same mistakes that he made, how to avoid getting caught up in the system, and we sitting up here, we chopping it up about his life and some of the things that he's been through. One thing that I do know about you, and a lot of people don't know what we're going to talk about now, is that you met your father in prison.
Right.
How was that, man? That's I mean, that's got to be some.
It was hard because, we was in Elmira Correctional Facility, and when I seen my father and he seen me, we shared a common failure. We didn't say much about it, but we looked at it.
But how was that? I mean, did you know he was in Elmira when you was on there?
I had no idea.
What was the relationship that you had prior to being in jail?
We had none because he was always either on drugs or back and forth doing a bid. So we had no solid relationship. We gained that relationship incarcerated.
So I mean, that moment that you saw him, who saw who first?
He saw me first, and he saw me going to the mess hall, but when I went back to the cell block, we happened to be in the same block. He was yelling up to the tier.
So he's seen you. You don't know he's seen you.
I didn't know
you don't even know he's there.
No, I'm just in my zone. So when I got back to my cell, I'm hearing him calling. I'm like, yeah, what's going on?
But you don't know that's your pops yet.
He said, it's your father. I'm like, wow. I said, listen, we got wreck in an hour. I'll meet you in the yard.
So now when he called you, did he say, yo, it's gutter? How did he,
He kept saying, Corey. I'm like, yo, I calling my government name out. Who calling my government name?
Wow.
Because ain't nobody really calling me my government at that point.
Right.
Like, I'm still gangbanging at this time.
How old were you?
At this time, I was around 23.
23?
Yes.
And prior to seeing him in prison, when was the last time you saw him?
Actually, in prison. I'm sadly to say my father died in prison. And to tell you a little bit about that transition, we used to build in the yard. We got a chance to talk and catch up, and to set some plans to open up a restaurant. And being a father and son one day outside of prison, I forgave him for not being there, etc. What happened was I had caught another conspiracy, and I went down to Rikers Island, and I was fighting that. When I got back to Elmira, he was gone in another prison. I got the news one day while in Elmira exercising. They called me to the chaplain office, and they said that my father had died. He was transported to Southport Box from one of those mediums. They said he got into a confrontation with a captain. And, what I assumed that they beat him and they never gave him proper medical attention. And he had a blood clot in his leg and never woke up out of sleep.
Wow.
So that was really hard for me at that point.
What is something that, during that time that you spent with your father, that stayed with you and stays with you to this day, during that period that y'all got the chance to bond?
Just the fact that he complimented me. He said, listen, you're real intelligent. That meant a lot because my father was illiterate. He couldn't read or write. So some of the things that we did together, I taught him like one-digit division. Wow. I taught him how to read.
Yo, son, word is born. You almost got me in tears, son. Word up, man.
Real talk. And he was one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because I wanted to make my father's strength I wanted to make my father's weaknesses my strength. As becoming a writer, an author, a motivational speaker, all those things that entail.
You done had a chance to build with your pops. You done experienced some growth. Talk about that growth, and let's talk about that transition back to society.
Well, first I want to say this. When I was leaving the prison, real quick, officer asked me, was I coming back? And I said no. But that was the first challenge to my reentry. He tried to discredit me from the jump. So since being home, I had to take a deep breath first and foremost. And then I gained a relationship with my mother. Me and her are the best of friends right now. So that's my first accomplishment.
Congratulations.
Building a relationship with my mother. Also, being that I was both in the violent field and the substance abuse side, I went and got my Case T, credential alcohol and substance abuse counselor training. I have that. I did some work in that field. I'm also a recovery coach.
You got that before you got out of prison, or
no? I got that. Wow, that was my reentry.
While you got out
I went
of
to school for that.
Okay.
The Case school.
Okay.
And I went and got that credentialing, and also I'm also a trainer, a recovery coach.
Okay.
So I'm along those lines. As far as the violent epidemic, I work with an organization called Harlem Snug.
Okay.
We campaign against gun violence in Central Harlem from 129th to 145th. Then it's in St. Nicholas. We work with young adults from 16 to 24 years old, and we basically help them try to make better decisions, not be shooters and not take a life.
So you go to the schools and you talk to the young people in
go
the
to
schools?
the schools. I got a caseload of maybe like 22 young adults that I work with, and we campaign against gun violence and try to change their lives.
Do you feel that it's your obligation to give back because of some of the things that you've done? Because I know I do. I don't know how you.
I feel it's my obligation. It's a part of my redemption, and I'm going to hold that to the time I'll return back to the essence.
Right, right. And how do your former associates on the streets accept Corey Parks opposed to who they used to seeing you at?
Well, it's a mixture. You got some people that's happy for me, and you got some people that just don't understand. I'm okay with that today because I don't live in that image no more of being C-gutter. I'm Corey Parks.
You're comfortable in who you are now?
I'm comfortable who I am. I have a true identity, a pure identity today.
Now, do you try to talk to some of your former associates and try to get them to see things from your perspective?
I would never turn a cheek on them. If they have an ear, I have a voice, and I try to model as much as I can without being around what they're doing.
Right.
Because you have to be very careful with
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
Having a criminal background, they still living that lifestyle. You have to really be careful with talking to them around that lifestyle.
Oh, before we get too far, before we actually wrap up in a little while, tell people how they can get in contact with you, because I want people to be able to reach out to you if they need you and talk to the young people. How can they get in contact with you?
Well, first you can contact me at 646-394-1081. That's my contact number, or Corey Parks, CoreyParks 592@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook. You also can purchase the book on Amazon.com. Just press in, once you get to the website, put Crime and Punishment by Corey Parks, and the book will come up. It's on Amazon.
How's the book been selling?
It's going good. And independently, because like I said, I self-published, I have my own business, MBK Global. I believe in being an entrepreneur. On my own, I sold over 100 copies.
You are in a documentary coming out soon?
Yes, I'm in a documentary called Journey to Manhood by Charles Williams. He works for CBS, and he has a media group himself. It's coming out in Black History Month. It's a good film about a different lot of people like Steve Harvey, Hill Harper, and I was just blessed to be a part of that to show my transition from boy to manhood.
What would be the advice that you would give a youngster that is going through some of the things that you've been through and how to try to hopefully get out of that?
The first advice I would give a young person is to learn how to process your emotions. It's okay to feel. The moment you run from feelings and feel like you don't got to feel or try to understand why you're feeling that way, then you're going to be susceptible to the street life, crime and punishment. Also, go get a mentor. Get someone that's doing positive things that can guide you. I need 1,000 mentors. I'm still looking for mentors. You can never have enough mentors or people that have life experience, that's been through the gutters of life, that's making that transition themselves. So definitely get a mentor.
And what would you tell a parent that has a son or daughter who's caught up in the streets or is at risk? Or what would be something that you would tell the parent?
I would tell a parent first to be patient. Don't yell at them. Don't put them down. But try to learn how understand how they feel. Try to have some empathy. Put yourself in their shoes, and give them as many positive outlets as possible, so they won't be susceptible to being on the streets.
And someone who is about to come home from prison, what would you tell them?
I would definitely tell those that's coming home from prison, have a plan, and don't let that man on your way out tell you that you're coming back to prison and that you can't make it out here, because there's a way. Don't say that you can't get a job. I know the economy is a little rough right now, but trust me, there's always a way to do something better than working for 20 cents in prison.
You know what I told him when I was getting out of prison? I said, you can retire my number like Jordan, man. Where do we see Corey Parks in 5 years?
Well, actually, I'm back in school, so I'm going for my bachelor's degree in liberal arts. I'm also looking to be a teacher as well, a professor at some point in my life. I want to get into acting. That's one of my things I want to get into. Write more novels and create programs for our young adults.
All right, cool, man, cool. We definitely got to get you back on the show. Keep tabs on you, what you're doing, man. Again, this is Corey Parks, the author of Crime and Punishment. Great book, a lot of jewels in there, especially for our young males of color, letting them know that, you know, the streets is not the only way to go, that there's a lot of other opportunities out there for you. Corey, again,
Thank you,
very
man.
impressed with your story. I want to thank
Randy.
you for coming on my show.
Pleasure.